Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, the catfish industry clashes with senators and federal agencies over whether the FDA or the USDA should inspect seafood.
It's one of the most well-known phrases in agricultural marketing, pork, the other white meat. Find out why the pork industry is retiring this campaign and starting another.
In Southern Gardening, we'll have a preview of next week's Jackson, Mississippi Garden and Patio Show.
In the markets, projections for South America's soybean harvests and U.S. futures south at midweek. But cattle futures reach a record high due to exports and domestic demand.
In the feature segment, Farm Week celebrated its 33rd anniversary this year. Well, join us as we look back over our shoulders, see what you can remember. Some people have watched from the beginning. Who is that young kid on the right?
Canal Street. We're here on the second floor. It's a big night for Farm Week tonight. Our first live remote broadcast coming to you via the satellite truck of Mississippi State University, and we're just excited to be here. It's a big night for us, and it's a big meeting.
I tell you, Artis, it's really exciting. There are a lot of folks from all over the world, really representing several countries, and the Mid-South is.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
Moves to reverse changes in the way seafood inspections are handled are drawing fire from farm-raised catfish officials.
Leighton, the Catfish Farmers of America organization says some U.S. senators and other government agencies are proposing changes in seafood inspections which will result in less food safety. Republican Senators John McCain of Arizona and Tom Coburn of Oklahoma want to repeal the 2008 law which will move seafood safety inspections from the Food and Drug Administration to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. CFA President Butch Wilson of Alabama told the Associated Press it is stunning that Senator McCain has chosen to protect importers and Vietnamese farmers over the health and safety of American citizens. McCain said the FDA hasn't reported any safety or health problems with Vietnamese imports. Wilson says that statement is wrong. The FDA has found illegal chemicals or drugs in catfish imported from Vietnam. In fact, the CFA says hazardous chemicals were found last month in Vietnamese catfish in McCain's home state of Arizona. The fish were also illegally sold as sole and not catfish. The CFA says future USDA inspections would apply to all catfish, foreign and domestic. In a related matter, the Federal General Accounting Office recommends all federal food safety agencies be consolidated. Mid-South Farmer says a GAO report questioned the cost of moving seafood inspection from the FDA to the USDA. CFA President Wilson disagreed. He said the USDA has more authority to conduct on-site inspections, and presently the FDA inspects only 2% of all seafood imported into the United States.
It's something that most businesses strive for but never reach, an advertising and marketing campaign that is instantly recognized. After almost 25 years, the nation's pork industry is retiring its pork, the other white meat campaign for a new one. Market of Markets' Mark Pearson reports.
Boom, here we go. Get it up!
It was a slogan well known by rural and urban Americans alike.
That is good, I guarantee.
The Other White Meat campaign debuted in 1987 and gradually established pork as a predominant protein source for much of the world. But the pork industry's nearly 25-year-old slogan was semi-retired this week as officials unveiled a new marketing strategy for the world's most popular meat. The new slogan, Pork, Be Inspired, is tailored to generate more interest towards incorporating the meat into daily meals. While pork is the world's most popular meat, it still lags behind beef and chicken in the United States. USDA data shows pork consumption fell to a 14-year low of 48 pounds per capita this past year. By comparison, beef consumption fell slightly, dropping to 59.7 pounds. That is the lowest since records began in 1958. However, chicken consumption grew in the past year, largely due to increased availability in domestic markets. Many pork industry experts blame the inaccurately labeled swine flu epidemic of 2009 and 2010 for misinforming consumers on pork products. Despite well-documented evidence and numerous education campaigns that proved H1N1 could not be contracted from eating meat, many consumers stayed away. According to the National Pork Board, the new slogan, Pork, Be Inspired, is focused on promoting a deeper engagement with existing pork consumers. But the Other White Meat slogan won't disappear entirely, as industry officials aim to use it in nutrition education materials.
The biofuel producer who plans to make renewable crude oil in Mississippi has landed a contract. Texas-based Kior made the announcement on Tuesday. Hunt Refining of Tuscaloosa will buy the biofuel made at Kior's first commercial facility. The $500 million plan is being built at Columbus, Mississippi. It's scheduled to be completed in 2012. Hunt Refining operates a 52,000 barrel a day refinery in Tuscaloosa. It is required by federal law that a portion of its output include renewable fuel. Kior announced last year it may build as many as 5 plants in Mississippi. It will make what it calls recrude from wood fiber. It's an oil that can be refined into conventional fuel products, including gasoline and diesel.
An emergency exemption has been granted by the Environmental Protection Agency to help corn farmers control blackbirds at planting. The Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce said farmers can use Avapel liquid seed treatment and Avapel dry powder corn seed treatment. The treatments make corn seed taste bad, keeping blackbirds and cowbirds from eating it. Ag Commissioner Lester Spell said Mississippi corn growers had suffered millions of dollars in losses in recent years due to heavy blackbird predation.
Well, are you getting excited about the garden? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman says the Jackson, Mississippi Garden and Patio Show is the place for the latest plants and good gardening advice.
Spring is almost here, and it's time to get excited about gardening. Well, get your calendar out. I'm going to tell you about a gardening event that is sure to fire you up. The Jackson Garden and Patio Show is the place to find the hottest and newest trees, flowers, and shrubs for your landscape. This show is truly a gardener's paradise. The Mississippi Garden and Patio Shows began in 1998 as a partnership between Mississippi State University, the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce, and the Mississippi Nursery and Landscape Association. This is a great opportunity to attend this show. The Jackson Garden and Patio Show will take place on March 18th, 19th, and 20th at the Mississippi Trademark at the State Fairgrounds. The show is designed with the whole family in mind, and children will love all the activities. All of your favorite vendors will be on hand with the latest plants and shrubs for 2011, along with equipment and gear that will make your chores a little easier. You'll also find beautiful fountains and water features and other garden accessories. Gardening experts will provide free seminars all 3 days. You can have your soil tested for free, and experts from the Mississippi State University Extension Service will be on hand to answer your gardening questions. Remember to mark your calendar for the Jackson Garden and Patio Show, March 18th through the 20th. I'll be there, and I hope to see you there too. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says get your warm season garden off to a great start at the Jackson Garden and Patio Show that is in the Mississippi Trademark building at the fairgrounds in Jackson. Well, in our feature segment today, Farm Week celebrated its 33rd anniversary last fall. It's been a long run, and I can't believe I've been here for more than 25 years of it.
It's kept you young.
Well, we hope. You're too kind. Before we get to the markets today, next week is National Ag Day, Tuesday, March 15th. And of course, here at Farm Week, we believe in agriculture, so we're always celebrating National Ag Day. But those of you, don't complain about the farmer with your mouth full, I think is what they say. Time now for the markets with Leighton. You say the new monthly supply demand numbers are out.
Fresh out of D.C. Thursday morning, and we have analysis right here of what it says about corn and soybeans. Also ahead in the markets this week, one forecast says forestry products prices are expected to recover some near term. Strong exports are credited for providing support in the beef sector as further fuel price hikes raise concerns in rural areas. We're recording this edition not too many hours after the March production and supply-demand numbers came out for the U.S. Thursday morning, March 10th. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley talked to me about what the reports mean for corn and soybeans. John Michael, let's begin with corn as we look at this latest supply and demand and crop production report. Any real change in the balance sheet for corn?
Yeah, with respect to the United States, not at all. Everything was where it was at last month. Ending stocks of 675,000 bushels, 675 million bushels, which is where we were at last month. That puts us at a stocks-to-use ratio of about 5%, a very low number. We're still well below what would be desired, but no changes from last month. So the market is pretty much sitting steady with respect to the Ag Supply and Demand report.
Now I understand the export number for corn, that was really way down from what the market expected.
Right, the low end of expectations on this week's export number for corn was 700,000 million metric tons. That number came in at 477, so below the expectation. It's 60% below the rolling 4-week average for the export number. We've seen the dollar strengthen a little bit over the past week or so, which has pushed exports down. Prices have gone up. Everybody's we're sitting here wondering if we're not at a price point that people are starting to throw their hands in the air and say enough's enough.
All right, let's look at soybeans now. What did the report have to say as far as soybeans?
Much like corn, no real changes. The ending stock still at 140 million bushels. There were a couple of swaps in terms of seed use was increased while residual use was decreased. But at the end of the day, no real changes on the soybean balance sheet.
All right, the South American harvest has gotten a little spotlight this week. Projections rising for the amount of soybeans likely to come out of South America. And that kind of hurt American or U.S. futures anyway, soybean futures Wednesday midweek.
Right, we're looking at a tight supply situation, so anytime you see an increase in production, that helps alleviate some of that, and prices have come down just a touch. Overall global supply of soybeans up 2.4 million metric tons. A lot of that came from Brazil. They had an increase of 1.5 million metric tons. The drought situation in Argentina has improved over the past 3 or 4 months, and this month's report was in line with last month with respect to Argentina. So South American soybean production is looking better.
From row crops to trees now in the markets with some hints about a forestry products price recovery. A new forecast from Forest Consulting posted on the Random Lengths Woodwire says that sawtimber prices in the South are expected to strengthen over 4% into 2012 and that they may top 5% into 2013. As for pine pulpwood, that lower valued raw material used for pulp, OSB, and bioenergy, it is forecast to gain almost 1.5% into 2012 and increase more than 2% into 2013. Let's take a look at our trivia quiz for this week now. What county is considered the wholesale nursery capital of Mississippi? Pick your answer from the following: Tippah, Wayne, George, or Pearl River. We'll have the correct choice for you here in a few minutes.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar in the second half of the markets. Leighton Spann reports beef exports look good, but larger fed cattle supplies are worrisome. We'll also look at where gasoline and diesel prices are. In the feature segment, help us celebrate Farm Week's 33rd anniversary. We couldn't have done it without you.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed in farm tractor accidents. Transporting and lifting objects with a front loader requires extreme caution. Unsecured objects can roll or slide down the loader arms and injure the driver. To help prevent injuries, tractors should be equipped with a falling objects protection system. Always secure loads or use a bale spear or straps before lifting objects. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Mississippi Beef Agribition takes place Friday and Saturday, March 25th and 26th at the Lee County Agri Center in Verona. The cattle can be viewed Friday night starting at 6. The sale takes place Saturday at 12:30 p.m. More than 100 bred heifers, pairs, bulls, and show calves will be sold. The third annual New Albany Home and Garden Show takes place March 25th and 26th at the Union County Fairgrounds in New Albany. There's no registration fee. Vegetable gardening, organic gardening, yard art, vegetable cooking, and a lot more are on the agenda. Women interested in learning more about the business end of running a farm or agribusiness should attend the annual Mississippi Women in Agriculture Conference. It takes place Tuesday through Thursday, April 12th through the 14th. The location is the Boss Building Auditorium on the Mississippi State University campus in Starkville. We will have links to help you register. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this Farm Week snapshot.
Cattle futures in Chicago surged to an all-time high Wednesday of this past week. While packers are having to pay up right now, DTN senior market analyst Aaron Newsom says that beef supplies could become somewhat worrisome down the road.
If we continue to see large numbers in these cattle on feed reports, that seems to be the concern. With the feed costs as high as they are, and if we start to see supplies actually starting to grow in the yards, this could start to put some pressure on the live cattle market, not only on the futures but possibly on the cash market as well.
Strong exports of U.S. beef are being given much of the credit for this week's price rally in cattle. Analyst Walt Hackney points out that exports are over 50% ahead of where they were at this point 1 year ago.
Now there's where the safety valve has been on beef production. Not in tonnage, not in the volume, because we're mediocre on our production in volume, but on price. Everyone's been worried that the housewife or the shopper is going to maintain their pace in buying beef as it progressively has gone higher. That hasn't been the issue. The issue has been that the exports have taken the extraordinary volume.
When it comes to input cost and spring planting, fuel is certainly becoming more of an issue as the weeks continue to roll by. The U.S. Energy Information Administration reports the U.S. average retail price for a gallon of gasoline is $3.52. That's 77 cents per gallon more than this time last year. Meanwhile, the U.S. average for a gallon of diesel is approaching $3.90 per gallon. At $3.87, diesel is now 97 cents per gallon higher than 1 year ago. Closing things out with a trivia answer for you. The question was about commercial horticulture in the state. And C is the right choice. George County, Loosedale, is considered the wholesale nursery capital of Mississippi.
Last October 3rd, Farm Week celebrated its 33rd anniversary on the air. Farm Week first appeared in 1977. I think it's safe to say no one thought it would last this long. It's outlasted everything from Bonanza to Gunsmoke. For those of you who are not familiar with Farm Week, or for those of you who have watched for 33 years, here's a little background.
Hello and welcome to Farm Week. I'm Bruce Johnson with the Cooperative Extension Service, and this week we explore two very interesting topics.
Agriculture was undergoing a time of great growth when the first Farm Week was aired on Monday, October 3rd, 1977. Mississippi legislature called on Mississippi Educational Television and the Mississippi State University Extension Service to develop a show. The purpose was to use television as a way to quickly communicate news and information to Mississippi's agricultural and forestry community. Bruce Johnson was Farm Week's first host.
It was disclosed last week that the Farm Bureau President, Alan Grant, led a delegation to Libya early in May to work out the sale of Libyan oil.
Mike Wyndham handled the commodity markets.
November soybeans closed the week at a slight increase, $6.91 a bushel Friday. And there's more good news. This time,
one of the most familiar faces to Farm Week viewers is that of Tyson Gare. Gare worked for Farm Week for 12 years, 10 of those as an anchor.
And I'm Tyson Gare. Welcome to this week's edition of Farm Week. In the news, snow, sleet, ice, and cold temperatures are taking their toll on Mississippi agriculture. It appears
the rumor that Johans might resign.
This reporter first came to Farm Week in 1983. I went on to anchor the University of Georgia's agricultural news show for 2 years in the late 1980s. I returned to Farm Week as its managing editor in 1989.
Cattle on feed report. The number of cattle placed on feed during January was 1% under last year, a little negative in the market's eyes.
Van Zyberden is primarily a wholesale distributor, but they're also very interested.
Leighton Spann, the newest addition to the Farm Week anchor team, is no longer new. He's been with Farm Week since 1994, following 16 years in commercial news broadcasting. The newest member of the Farm Week crew is Amy Taylor. This University of Southern Mississippi graduate joined Farm Week in January 2007.
Amy, I understand it was another record breaker.
Thank you, Artis. Yes, slightly more than $279,000 was bid in this year's sale. That money.
Farm Week is produced each week by the Mississippi State University Extension Service through the Office of Agricultural Communications. For 14 years, the studio portion of Farm Week was produced in the studios of Mississippi Public Broadcasting in Jackson. In October 1991, production moved to the University Television Center of Mississippi State University.
Good music, yes. Welcome to downtown Nashville, the Nashville Convention Center.
And the Corn Growers Classic. We're here at the National. Technological advances have made it possible for Farm Week to move out of the studio. MSU's mobile satellite truck allows remote productions to take place from national agricultural meetings in major U.S. cities. The first live remote broadcast of Farm Week took place in 1993 from the Beltwide Cotton Conferences in New Orleans.
Canal Street, we're here on the second floor. It's a big night for Farm Week tonight. Our first live remote broadcast coming to you via the satellite truck of Mississippi State University, and we're just excited to be here. It's a big night for us, and it's a big meeting.
I tell you, Artis, it's really exciting. There are a lot of folks from all over the world, really, representing several countries, and the Mid-South is.
In June of 2001, there was another Farm Week first. It marked the first Farm Week produced from a farm, the Billy Walker Farm at Sunnyside, northwest of Greenwood. Yes, pardon the pun, we were outstanding in our field for at least one day.
Hello, I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week once again, and here we are. Farm Week's success is due to people working together. It takes the expertise of extension specialists and experiment station researchers. It also takes the diligence of many behind the scenes, whether they run a copy machine or a tape machine. Each job is important. The focus of Farm Week has changed through the years. More information is given now on land management, such as tree farming and creating wildlife habitat.
Because it looked horrible 23 years ago. There was 6-foot washes in here then. All of those are closed up. We found one little washout, which we're trying to get the timber crew to put some tops in to fill in that, but I mean, it's a beautiful piece of property now.
Crepe myrtles have been called the lilacs of the South. And for
Home horticulture has increased dramatically in popularity. That's how Southern Gardening with Norman Winter came to be. It first aired in 1996 with Norman as its host.
If you're looking for a good vine for your fence or gazebo, then you need to consider the evergreen red wisteria.
14 years later, in 2010, Dr. Gary Bachman of the Mississippi State University Extension Service took over the Southern Gardening reins.
Flexible creations of nature with the solid and constructed forms from skilled hands. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Farm Week. Another way Farm Week has changed is the internet. If you have a television show, you have to have a website to go along with it. The Farm Week website first appeared in 2001. You can get contact information on news stories and events and watch Farm Week feature stories.
They're doing something a little different.
It's the feature stories that have kept Farm Week on the air after 30 years. The subjects are the ones who have invited us to visit and allowed us to share their experiences with the Farm Week audience. Many have said if appearing on Farm Week will help someone else, they will do it.
I have told everybody I run into my expense, no telling how many times. And just for the fact that I like to see these people get there, they raise the timber and everything, I'd like to see them get paid for it.
The biggest reason Farm Week is on the air is you, the viewer. If no one watched, Farm Week would not be on the air.
Be sure to tell us what you like and what you don't like. It's one way of making sure Farm Week remains something worth watching.
I'm Leighton Spann. Thank you for being with us tonight.
I'm Artis Ford. We'll see you next week.
And if you're interested in watching this story again, you can go to our Farm Week website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also find us on YouTube now. Go to YouTube, type in Farm Week as one word with quotation marks. You'll find our stories and avoid the Farm Week wannabes. So there you go, pal. You're going to be here for another 8 or 10? I'm not.
Question, I hope
I'm
you
not.
will.
Anyway, we appreciate all the kindnesses those of you in the audience have shown us. You are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, it's a feature story edition of Farm Week.
You'll be going to Massachusetts to see the colorful cranberry harvest. That state ranks second in cranberry production. You'll also meet the legendary tractor designer of the Ford N-Series and the John Deere 4020.
In southern gardening, the plentiful pansy makes a great hanging basket. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. We do thank you for watching not only this week, but all these many years. We'll see you next week.